Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching In Depth.
On Now You Know.
So In Depth this week is sponsored by our friends at the Schaumburg, Illinois Fairfield Inn and Suites Marriott Hotel. The only hotel in that area that is solar powered. So this week, Jesse, I went to LA to the Boring Tunnel Party. You might have seen the live stream we did, but if you didn't, I shot kind of a more in-depth, behind-the-scenes, a little better footage. And then next morning kind of talked about what I saw and my thoughts. So I guess we'll cut to that now. Well, I've landed in LA, waiting for my Uber, and yeah, it's pretty boring. Boring hotel. Email's boring. Oh my God. Guess what just happened? Do you remember Mr. G, the shop teacher from New Jersey? Well, he knows Jehugarcia. Yeah, this Jehugarcia, the guy who knows everything about making electric cars and batteries. Yeah, well, Jehu lives in Southern California, right here near where I am in LA. Mr. G, who knows Jehu, said, "Hey, Jehu, Zach is going to be in town. Do you want to meet up with him?" And he said, "Yes." And get this, he's driving the Samba up here, and we're going to meet him. Oh my God, this is... Sorry, I was just so excited. Alright, we're here at Fat Burger and we're waiting for Jehu to get here. He's been stuck in traffic like for an hour, so that was really tough for him. But hopefully he's off the freeway right now and he'll be arriving soon. And we'll have an Impossible Burger waiting for him. That should cheer him up. Check this out. We just had lunch and Jehu came up and he's going to pick us up here in the Samba. Does anyone know what the Samba is? This is Samba. And it is powered by these beautiful babies here. It is all electric. And he built it himself. We're going to the Boring Tunnel Party in Samba. This is crazy.
No seatbelts, though.
No seatbelts.
That's cool.
I forgot to tell you guys, this is the world's most scary ride.
He just told us now after we got in that it's the world's most scary ride. All right.
If you see it from the outside, it's about the footprint of like a normal car. But it fits 9 people.
Wow.
So the difference is that there's not a lot of cushion anywhere.
There's the tower. We're gonna go storm the castle next. Stay tuned. All right, guys, can you see behind me? Not only am I wearing a boring hat, but everyone else is wearing boring stuff too. This is pretty exciting. We're almost about to get in.
Oh my God!
It's like with a gimbal. See the camera? It's following the logo.
Oh wow, that is insane.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if you can see me or anything, but we are standing in the very front of the Boring Tunnel Party line. So this is the front.
I should interview you.
And this is me. Let me just try to do that again. This is the front. This is me. I'm at the front of the line. How did I do that?
I'm with number 1.
My friend Toolbjorn, he's got number 1. I've got number 3. Jehu's got number 2. We're all gonna be driving in the tunnel. Maybe. I don't know. What are mining tokens?
I don't know.
What do you think mining tokens are, Jehu?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is it. They were lifting it out the other day. I think this is Godot. This is what made the tunnel that we'll be going in later. Behind the scenes, YouTubers, Jehu, Ben Sullins, just talking about, you know, this and that.
How's the audio on that thing?
I will find out. We will find out. That's how you know you're a big YouTuber, when you get to go down the steps into the tunnel. I'm not at that point yet. This is so exciting. We just came down into the tunnel, and I'm gonna flip you around and show you where we are right now.
My parents.
Check that out. We're pretty much front row to see straight down into the tunnel. And then within a few minutes, Elon's gonna be down here talking to us.
So I think the fastest we've taken the car thus far is around 110 miles an hour through the tunnel, but that's it's a little scary right now. So.
Will you sign it?
What?
Eli created that Starman comic.
Starman.
Can you signature on it?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Yay!
Woohoo! On my wall. Eli. All right.
Elon, thank you, man.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Elon.
Love my Tesla.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. All right. Hey, thanks for coming, guys. Hope you have a good time.
Thank you, Elon. There are nights. Oh, crap.
Party over? Yeah, or I'll just show up and the party's over.
What the? Oh! Oh! I don't want the job anymore. Imagine if this thing goes flying out of his hand. Oh! Okay, so we just got some bad news. Some kind of good news, which is they're not going to be able to get us in the tunnel tonight, so I'm not going to be able to film that for you guys, but they did say that we're going to be able to come back and shoot it, and when we come back, I guess we're going to be able to get a tour, so it's good and it's bad. I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to get you in the tunnel tonight. I'm kind of bummed myself about it, but hey, we had a good time, didn't we? We got to see knights fighting. We got to see the beginning of a new type of transportation, so thanks for coming along, everybody. Now you know. Good morning, everybody. Zach here. It's Wednesday, the day after the Boring Company event. I could barely sleep last night after the event. I thought I would just put down some of my thoughts for you in this in-depth on the Boring Tunnel Company party that happened last night. First of all, on a personal note, I want to thank the Patreons, because the Patreon patrons are the only reason I could go to the event. When we found out about the fact that I got an invite, I actually didn't get my official invite until Saturday. So I heard on Friday from a friend who had a +1 that I could go. I talked to Jesse. The only one of us could go, and he would have to miss a lot of work. So we decided, and he was really gracious about it, to let me go. Then on Saturday, when we found out that we could probably bring him as well, it just wasn't going to work in terms of work, because it was, missing practically this whole week. And then the decision to go really was made by the fact that we could do it because of your Patreon support. I mean, it took airplanes and hotels and Ubers and all that stuff to make it here. So without you, we probably would have had to pass. So super duper thank you for those patrons who support us on the show. That's the kind of thing that we can do. And I took it really seriously when I got here to make sure that I could not only cover the event with the
with the footage that you're seeing on this show, but also to live stream it so that everyone could kind of get a feel for, like, as if you're there at the party. And we got there early at the party. The party doors opened at 6. We got there at like 4:30, that we were number 1 in line. And again, we did that because we wanted to get you right in there and be the first to start live streaming. So it took a lot of planning, and we just really appreciate you guys. So thank you for your support. I had my good friend Toolbjorn there, who was watching out for me the entire time, being like, that's where Elon's going to be, that's where you should be. So helpful, because I wasn't paying attention, honestly. I was just so blown away by the night. So we get there, and I think if you've seen the live stream, you get a pretty good idea of it. We got to see Godot, which was the machine that bored the tunnel. That was their first boring machine. Then we got to see Linestorm, which is going to be their version 2. And then we got to see Gary the Snail. I guess he's the 6th snail. He had a whole throne laid out for him. There was, not a flamethrowers that were on display, and people were playing with them. Great music and food and all that. Also, just wonderful people there. We got to bump into so many cool YouTubers that were there. I mean, I got to meet Casey. Kind of, if you're in the YouTube world, he's my idol, because he goes out there like every day and shoots amazing stuff, and he makes it look easy. It's not easy. Earlier in the day, we got to meet Jehugarcia, who, if you don't know, is fantastically smart and puts together these amazing videos on how you can do amazing things, and so many people gravitated to him because he's sharing such amazing knowledge, especially on batteries. So we get to hang out with him, have lunch. We went into the event with him. I was able to get him in as a +1, and yeah, he was so nice, and it just is so great to be a part of a community of Tesla people and YouTube people. And there was no like, let me get this first or anything like that. It's all working together for the same cause. Also, so many wonderful people came up to me during the event, shake my hand, say hello. I really love that. I'm really honored that people want to take the time to meet me. So that was fantastic. So then we got to go all down into the tunnel to hear Elon. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, watched that. I recorded the whole thing, so maybe we'll put that up as a separate video, although I'm sure you can see it better on their live stream. I hope their live stream didn't go down. And I just wanted to give you some of my thoughts. These are just kind of still fresh in my mind, but I wanted to give you some of my thoughts from watching the event last night. I know it's probably been talked about now for over a week by the time you're seeing this. So Elon talked about, in no particular order, he talked about the fact that when you build one tunnel, you can also build multiple tunnels, and that it's 3D, right? And I think a lot of us thought like you'd have one tunnel going that way, one tunnel going this way, and another tunnel going that way. But he was talking about how you could have multiple tunnels going in the same direction, all just stacked together. You could have 3x3, so 9 or 16 or 25. You can just pack them in as tight as you want. And I thought that was a really cool concept to start to wrap my head around. But I wanted to point out something that I was talking about with Toolbjorn, which is that when you have a tunnel, especially one that's only one lane wide, if there's a problem in the tunnel, you have to be able to evacuate people from the tunnel, especially, let's say, if there's a fire. In Europe, for instance, every 100 meters, you have to have an exit from the tunnel. And the same is going to have to be true in some way or another with the Boring Company tunnels. You're going to have some way to evacuate people. I think you're going to have to build tunnels in at least pairs, running side by side, and one is probably going to have to be some kind of escape tunnel. Now, maybe that one tunnel can run between two. So you would have a tunnel going north, an escape tunnel in the middle, and a tunnel going south. And maybe that escape tunnel could handle the capacity for the north-south, for instance. Because, again, if you get into an accident or if there's a fire, you're going to have to be able to clear it and get people out safely. I'm sure that Elon has thought of all this through. I'm sure that he didn't probably want to get into the details of stuff ahead of the fact that that's just way too detailed. But I thought it would be important to start talking about now, because I want to try and envision what this new reality is going to be like. Being there in the tunnel, something clicked. Every now and then in my life, something clicks in my head. I can just start to see it, whereas I couldn't see it before. And this is what happened to me, at least with the boring tunnels, is that I could see it. I mean, he made cool videos of showing us, these multi-dimensional tunnels underground, but something about, I guess, being a human and having to be in a tangible space, being in that tunnel, seeing the Model X drive in it, made me just start to realize this will be a thing. It just makes sense. Let's go to the economies of why it makes sense. If you build a mile-long tunnel nowadays, it costs about $1 billion. He was able to, starting from scratch, without really knowing what they were doing, build a tunnel over a mile long for $10 million. I don't think that we are spending enough time thinking about that. That's 2 orders of magnitude cheaper. Now I know that this Boring Company tunnel, this 12-foot wide diameter tunnel, isn't as big as tunnels that are built, to carry 4 lanes of traffic or something. But who cares? Build 4 of them and that's $40 million. Build 8 of them, that's $80 million. That's nowhere near $1 billion. He's able to, right out of the gate, without any improvements, bring it down by 2 orders of magnitude. Now let's talk about what he said they're working on, which is Linestorm, which should be 3 times faster, and faster is cheaper. When we get to the 3rd iteration, it's going to be even faster than that. So we're talking cheap, dirt cheap, please excuse the pun, tunnels. And I think that all it's going to take is for them to get one of these projects that they're working on now, Dodger Stadium Dugout Loop, the Chicago connection to O'Hare from downtown, tunnel in Maryland, any of these tunnels to just work on a realistic way, and you're going to see cities around the world clamoring for tunnels. And I think it's going to be a lot like Tesla. Other companies are going to follow his lead. They may not know every single thing he knows about it now, but they're going to go, oh, electric, okay, electric tunnel boring machine, electric locomotives. And as soon as that starts to happen, you have competition, you're going to have tunnels being drilled all over the world really cheaply. Here's the big thing that I took away from last night that was not mentioned by Elon. I'm sure it's up here in his head, which is you don't need to put every single car underground. You don't need to take all of LA or all of New York and put it underground to eliminate traffic. You only need to put below ground about 10 to 20% of the traffic. And you begin to lessen the impact on all of the roads and exits on the existing infrastructure, and so traffic gets way better. The reason why Elon said traffic in LA has been going from the 7th level of hell to the 8th level and so forth is because more and more people get in their cars every day on roads that you can't expand on. But if you're able to start lessening that traffic, as if you were reducing the population of a city by 10 or 20%, you begin to dramatically lower just average traffic in a city. If he opens a tunnel and it's able to just get a few of those cars, a small percentage of those cars off of the main road, he's already solved a lot of the problem. And then every year as you add more and more tunnels, more and more elevators, it just gets better and better. So don't think that you have to put everyone underground. I think that's a key point. I wish you had kind of mentioned it the other night, because I think everyone is going to be saying, well, you can't possibly build enough tunnels. First of all, I do think you can. But secondly, I don't think you have to right away. Other cool thing to me was that I've been thinking there was going to be a skateboard. I really, because all the videos of the loop shows a skateboard. Driving your car onto a skateboard goes below ground, skateboard goes off. And I'd always thought, okay, so how do you power the skateboard? Is it some kind of cable? Is it got its own drivetrain that has to be powered? What he did by coming up with this way of having the car have guides that fold out and using your own car is that autonomous cars are coming. Autonomous electric cars are coming. That's already a thing that's being made. Why have to make a new thing, escape, right? So adding these just simple things onto cars that can fold out and guide the car means that you've solved the problem and that the car is road legal. I mean, brilliant first principles thinking, right? Because it kind of solves both the problems. It's so brilliant, it's so simple sounding until I actually saw it on the Model X that was there. I think it just would have gone over my head like, oh, okay. The thing is, like, the tunnel is just, it seems like, so what? But it's not. And I really do think, and not just because I was there, but I think that people are going to talk about the world before and after this technology, just like we do about computers or cell phones or the internet. It's before, what was life like before this technology and what was life like after it. And I think that Tuesday night was that moment in history. You can't go back. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. Everyone heard about it. There are minds across this planet right now planning for this new future that are going, I'm going to get myself a boring tunnel machine, modify it, and start making tunnels too. Why not? It's going to change the world. I don't even think we can begin to imagine that, because we've been living with this soul-crushing traffic for so long. So much of our lives is dedicated to figuring out how to get from point A to point B, factoring in the soul-crushing traffic. It seems to me that As soon as we can start getting these boring tunnels made in a hurry, on scale, we're going to eliminate that soul-crushing traffic. We're going to go back to being able to get around on time. I met Jehugarcia yesterday. He was coming just from 50 miles away. It took him hours. There was an accident on the freeway. It was just a parking lot for him, and it took him hours to go 50 miles because of LA traffic. I mean, he was just exhausted, by the time we saw him, because he had to sit through that. And I was thinking, like, that's crazy. Like, that's what cities around the world have to live with all the time. It just cuts down commerce. It cuts down creativity and wanting to be a human. It would make you question living in a city if you're like, I've heard many people since I've been out here being like, yeah, LA traffic is the worst. So it's a factor you'd even make deciding where to live. I don't think we can even begin to put a price or a value on what this technology could do. And then to go to the bricks. I got to hold one last night. The Boring Company brick store isn't open yet, but the engineer I talked to said it should be soon. Every little thing of what Elon's doing, they try and figure out how to do it sustainably and efficiently. And the bricks are a huge part of that, because all of that dirt, as you talked about, a lot of companies take that dirt, ship it out, and go get new dirt to make the concrete sections that go around the walls of the tunnel. They don't do that at Boring Company. They take the dirt they're drilling and they mix it with cement and they form it into the walls, and then the extra dirt that's left over they make into bricks that they're going to sell. The bricks alone, it sounds like, are going to pay for most of the tunnels. Think about that for a second. They just turned what was waste to most companies and turned it into a resource. And then on top of that, they want to give them away for people who want to build affordable housing. And I think, again, we gloss over some things. I think we gloss over little statements like that. But the crowd cheered last night when he said that, because think how powerful that is. We want to take something that took us time and energy to make, these bricks that are valuable. They're sold at Home Depot for 25 cents each. And we want to give them away to people who are doing affordable housing. He cares about people. Do you hear any other CEO talking about that? They would just be talking about the profit margins on something. It's brilliant all the way around. I felt so privileged and honored to be there. I was so excited to actually get to shake his hand finally. It was a big night for me on so many levels. I just think that we just saw a new technology unfold that's really going to change the world. I think that in a month or two from now, it's going to get we're all going to forget about it, or at least people in the outside our bubble are going to be like, oh, whatever. But I think the change has started there too. So just like with electric cars, the change starts, and then it has these ripples that just ripple out and start to affect car companies and people in our lives and the environment. Same thing here with the boring tunnels. And people won't really get it. The average people won't really get it until there's a tunnel built and people actually start using it. And then it's going to be like the Roadster or the Model S or the Model 3. And then people are finally going to go, oh my gosh, I have to get one of these in my city. And they're going to be clamoring for it. And there's really no reason. It's not like he's only going to have one boring machine. By then, they'll just have as many boring machines as they need, and they'll just be boring everywhere. That's going to be incredible. Anyway, thank you so much for coming along for this crazy ride. Thank you for putting up with kind of a crazy live stream. I'm sure it must have been hard at times to follow. There was such loud music playing and all that. And thank you for being here on In Depth and hearing my raspy voice tell you about what happened last night. I just had a blast, and thank you again to our Patreons for making that possible. See you guys. Now you know.
So, those are my thoughts the day after. Mm-hmm. We've had a little bit more time to think about it. I guess the part that really kind of shocked me was I was waiting for some kind of skate.
Right.
And I was thinking like, okay, so is the skate either pulled by some kind of cable, or is it autonomously driven, which would mean basically a car, mm-hmm. like all the technology that goes into a car. And I was just surprised, but pleasantly surprised, to see that they had gone back to first engineering principles and said, like, maybe we don't even need the skate.
Yeah, but I kind of wanted the skate in a way. I understand that it doesn't make sense to put a car on top of a car and drive the car. But I was hoping, and I guess, they can make some kind of a bus that drives and can sit in the tunnel, drive through through the tunnel and then come out onto the surface and deliver people. And I hope that that's the direction they're going in. It sounded like from some tweets that we had heard before, there was going to be some kind of vehicle there that was
but it
different.
was. I mean, it was different. It was a Model X that had this new system where it can drive on the streets. It's street legal, but then these bumpers fold out. I mean, a typical Elon for making it seem like it could go one way and then go the other. A couple of things that I think maybe many of you are wondering, like, Zach, where's the footage of you going in the tunnel? Well, it got to be about midnight that night, and all the VIPs, I'm not a VIP, let's be honest. The VIPs, the important people that night, were the government people. Let's really boil it down. The Boring Company doesn't have stock they have to worry about. So they don't need to worry about stock prices. They do have to worry about the government and environmental regulations and so forth, right? So they really, I think the whole point of this party was to get government people into the tunnel, show them that it's safe, that it works, that it's a thing. So they'd come out of the tunnel going, wow, that's a thing. It's going to solve traffic. Let's approve it. There's all these excited people here. I think that was the job. And I think that the math just didn't work out that night for getting us all through. But they did promise us that we are going to get to go in the tunnel, which is good news for you, because when that happens, and I don't know if it's going to be January or February or March, but we'll be invited back and you'll be able to go in the tunnel. And I'm really excited about that part of it. Because, again, I think that we are going to measure time based on this new invention, just like we do with other inventions, like the advent of the automobile, right? There's like life before the automobile and life after it. I think there's going to be life after the tunnel.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So how is it going to actually work in the real world? So they are going to make a tunnel, and then only electric cars are allowed to go in it? Only Teslas, it seems like?
Any car that adds this, well, any electric car that adds this bumper system and that is autonomous, yes.
But I mean, the autonomous system has to work in a tunnel.
Right.
It can't just be Chevy Super Cruise or any of the other
systems.
autonomous systems.
I'm assuming like Tesla opens up their patents for lots of things. They'll probably open their patent for that portion of it so that other manufacturers can use, but they'll probably license it for free to other manufacturers. The key point, as I pointed out in my little rants that morning, was that we don't need to get every car into the tunnel. We only need to get 10 to 20% of the cars in the tunnel, and then traffic becomes way less of a thing. And I used to live in LA in the 90s before you were born and just when you were born. And traffic was bad. But having been back a few times since, and like this last trip, traffic's bad all day long. I had no idea it's just, you can't, you know how most cities, it seems like middle of the day, you can pretty much move around the city.
Yeah.
There's no middle of the day for LA.
I see.
Going 20 miles in LA might as well take you, I mean, Jehu came to visit us from 50 miles away. It took him 4 hours.
Oh my God. Wow.
He was stuck at one point in traffic that wasn't moving at all for like an hour. So that's just soul crushing. I mean, that's the soul crushing part.
Right.
So what we need to do is get a lot of these people off the road and into tunnels. I really think it's one of those things. When I talked to a bunch of people who knew nothing really about it, you got the same kind of, well, you can't do it here because there's earthquakes. And it'll never scale up.
That's the kind of, that's just people who aren't informed. But to me, I want there to be, I was waiting for the all glass skate thing to roll out and for that to be, like, aha, this can travel at 100 and,
This was a proof of concept. Okay?
I agree.
This was like a concept, and this is the first iteration. And most products that you do a first proof of concept iteration, it just has to look good on a table or look good in a showroom when it doesn't move, right?
Right.
This was something that actually had to work. And so, yeah, it only traveled at like 40 miles an hour. But that's because they you have to have very fine tolerances if you want it to move at 150 miles an hour.
Right.
Which it doesn't have yet.
I
And
see.
it had to be safe and not freak out all the government people. Imagine if you put a government person in a tunnel when 150 miles an hour, it would be like,
Right. Yeah.
They might freak out and be like, I'm not going to allow my constituents to do that.
It's a good point. When you're talking government people, are you talking about regulators or are you talking about people who are
Senators,
potentially... Okay.
Congress people, chiefs of staff were there. It was a who's who of California politics.
Interesting.
And those were the important VIPs that got on. Us YouTubers and Tesla owners, we were there to make it look like a cool party, I'm pretty sure. Those are the people that got on first. And It makes sense.
Interesting.
Hope you enjoyed the Boring Tunnel Party and this in depth. And please, have a great holiday season. You're probably hearing this on Christmas, so Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you on the next in depth.